I presume you're here in order to learn of Magecraft. I'll have you know, there's no room for the weak-willed in this course, and despite your best efforts, the sorcery of our time is but a fraction of what it once was in the Age of Gods. Much of the craft is established through pedigree, and the culture of mages is riddled with deception and moral depravity. That said, if you insist, I shall do my best to educate you in this miserable, yet fascinating world.
In our previous lesson, I covered Japanese thaumaturgical systems, such as Hojutsu and Shugendo. These practices can often be described as spiritual, which begs the question, what exactly is a spirit? It's a broad term, referring to heroic spirits, nature spirits, and other ghost-like apparitions. For the sake of clarity, I would like to take this opportunity to differentiate all the different meanings mages have for the term spirit. Generally speaking, a spirit refers to a spiritual body, an immaterial form that can only be perceived by humans with a unique affinity for it. Most spirits are considered extensions of the planet, used as its sense of touch. The more powerful spirits gain an ability to present themselves in a tangible form. Without a material form, science is unable to intervene with the spiritual body, giving Magecraft an advantage even in the modern era. This matches all the tropes you might expect. Spirits disregard the limitations of our physical world, allowing for phenomena such as phasing through walls, floating, and invisibility. It's fitting because, for as much as our planet uses them, spirits are a product of human worship and folklore. Our belief in the supernatural gives credibility to the existence of spirits. The more glaring example is, of course, divine spirits or gods. They are directly born from our human worship and count as spiritual beings even when they can be seen by and interact directly with humanity. In a simple sense, one could call the other spirits lesser gods, given how they all thrive on the concept of mystery. Even in the age of man, where science and technology reign supreme, there is a gap in our knowledge of the world that allows for the possibility of spirits, even if the majority of humans today do not believe in ghosts. In other words, we lack the ability to scientifically prove spirits don't exist, even though we can explain much more about our world than we could before. Another powerful spirit we've covered in these lessons is, of course, the heroic spirit. In order to protect humanity from their destruction at the hands of beasts, the planet records heroic legends into the throne of heroes. By merging these legends with spiritual bodies called saintcrafts, the planet can summon forth heroes of the past as warriors to do its bidding. As one of the stronger types of spirits, heroic spirits can both enter and exit their spirit forms. In spirit form, servants are able to hide their presence, but it also limits their ability to interact with the material world. Thus, they typically fight in a material form, leaving them vulnerable to physical damage. Should a servant's spiritual core get destroyed, they will vanish until being summoned again at a later time. It's worth noting that, even in physical form, heroic spirits are beings composed of mana, and without a steady supply of it, they are forced to return to their spirit form, and at worst, vanish back to the throne of heroes. Their bodies may look humanoid, but unlike actual humans, heroic spirits do not age. They lack the need to eat, and rather than taking in a mage's seed for reproduction, a servant will merely absorb that seed as a store of mana. Normally, this mana is provided by the planet, assuming the heroic spirit is a counter-guardian pledged to protect humanity. When mages summon servants as familiars, they need to provide that mana on their own. The most powerful spirits in the world are referred to as elementals. These are the beings the planet uses as its sense of touch. Most frequently, when one refers to an elemental, they are also referring to a nature spirit. They may not be gods, but their existence is extremely similar. The biggest difference is that, while gods lose their power in the absence of human worship, the planet can maintain an elemental's strength long after humans give form to them. Many fairies are a type of elemental, such as Morgan Le Fay and Vivian. In Arthurian legend, fairies were responsible for creating the divine constructs Excalibur and Rongo-Minyad. Celtic mythology also speaks of fairies, such as the fairy kings who raised Diarmid, or the fairy who stole 7 years of youth from Finn McCool. Cuchulainn even had an affair with Fan, the fairy wife of Manannán mac Lir. While common fairies seem to have vanished along with the Age of Gods, many still exist in a form that is imperceptible to humans. Some mages have mystic eyes, such as Glam Sight, that let them interact with fairies even in the modern era. I could spend an entire lesson on fairies alone, so for our purposes here, I will settle the matter now. Another elemental is Log Beowulf, a phantasmal being that manifested near a village of werewolves. Latching on to werewolf folklore, Beowulf took on the form of a golden werewolf, which the village recognized as a rare breed only previously seen in their oldest ancestor. These people hoped Beowulf would help them revive their species, only to discover that, as a nature spirit, Beo isn't a real werewolf. Instead, Beo lacks a defined gender and does not age. Unable to mate with Beo, the villagers sold him off to Toko Aozaki, who raised him as a familiar of sorts. V is an elemental contracted with the Romanov dynasty in Russia. Its mystic eyes are valuable for being able to detect enemy weaknesses, particularly in fortresses and bounded fields. When utilized to aid Anastasia, V's eyes are capable of creating weak points where none existed previously. While some debate whether V is a fairy or not, we can safely say it is, at its core, a nature spirit. The Tengu we discussed in our most recent lessons also qualify as elementals associated with mountain ranges in Japan. While Tengu occasionally impart their wisdom to humans, they can just as easily open the gates of hell to condemn humans who upset them. Yume Ren is considered an incarnated elemental, a nature spirit who is reborn into a powerful, practically immortal body. She shares many attributes with what is often considered to be the strongest elemental, the True Ancestor. True Ancestors, as we've already covered in depth, are nature spirits born from an alliance between Earth and Brunstad of the Crimson Moon. Their original purpose was to police and protect the Earth from humanity's encroaching technology. They maintained the delicate balance between the purity of nature and the fact that humans are technically part of nature. True Ancestors could enforce this through the use of Marble Phantasm, an ability to shape the world to their whim. Regrettably, these same immortal beings were plagued by a psychological thirst for human blood. This corrupted them, leaving their princess, Arcoade, to remain as the only surviving ancestor. In all of these prior examples, elementals are strong enough that they manifest in material bodies. Even if they should die in a conventional sense, however, they still maintain their bond with the planet. It's also worth noting that nature spirits can literally be born from the earth itself as the result of natural phenomena. Spirits can emerge from soil, ores, gemstones, and jewels. Sometimes natural disasters can give rise to spirits, such as Koyanskaya, who is an incarnation of the Tunguska event, a mysterious explosion in Russia during June of 1908. Jinn are another category of spirits that include the Queen of Sheba's familiars, Solomon's demon gods, and even parts of the Zabaniya used by Hassani Saba. Sometimes, spirits can emerge from dead animals. Unlike human souls, which lack a material form when released from their bodies, animal souls maintain the form they had in life. Just like heroic spirits, animal spirits can feed on the energy of other mortal creatures, and they can also possess both people and objects. The bronze link manipulators used by Fiore Forved Yiga de Millennia actually function due to being possessed by 4 dog spirits. Similarly, there are the Kitsune and Inukami, uniquely Japanese spirits capable of possessing humans and driving them to madness. By combining an animal spirit with the soul of a human, mages can create what are called guardian spirits. This allows animal spirits to gain a sense of human intelligence, but in order to maintain their form, they must be bound to a magical object or location. Nanako is an excellent example. She is the result of merging the spirit of a unicorn with that of a young girl. She is tethered to the 7th Holy Scripture, one of the Church's most valuable weapons. Those are all the powerful spirits worth noting. More conventionally, when the general public imagines spirits, they think of ghosts and apparitions, which are both genuine things as well. Let's start with ghosts, also called wraiths. When humans die, their souls are supposed to return to the swirl of the root. Sometimes, however, these souls will carry excess baggage from life, such as regrets or past grudges, and that leads them to haunt places, items, or even other people. Typically, wraiths cannot interfere with the physical world, and they only do so through possessing a medium. For instance, a wraith might possess a corpse in order to attack someone. Existing as a wraith is not an ideal form of living, if you can even call it that. Without the true magic of heaven's feel, souls separated from their bodies are destined to decay. This can be seen physically with Zoken Mato, who has been preserving his soul through crestworms that feed on the life energy of humans. The longer this goes on, the less of himself he is able to maintain, such that his original hopes for the Grail have long since been lost. It is said that the world's very first wraith is the dead apostle Stanrobe Kalhin, who, after being vanquished by the church, continues to thrive as a ghost. Next, we have apparitions, which are what you get when a person's strong thoughts are left behind after their soul departs this world. Typically, these thoughts are primitive, existing as an instinctive drive or impulse. Those with spiritual affinity can see them, but by and large, they don't pose much threat. That said, if caught in a state of mental weakness, people can find themselves influenced by apparitions. Such was the case for the spirits inhabiting the Fujo building in Mifune City. After suffering from a terminal illness for over 10 years, Kyrie Fujo developed a temptation for suicide. When given a spiritual body with which to escape the confines of her hospital, she tried to reach out to others, instilling that suicidal urge into vulnerable teenage girls who would subsequently fall to their deaths from the Fujo building's roof. Lacking mental conviction, these girls died, and their lingering thoughts gathered in the sky, luring in even more victims. Misaya Oji is known as a fairy user, which is misleading because, technically, one cannot create fairies through Magecraft. This means that the fairy-like familiars that surround her are merely apparitions, lacking the same strength an actual fairy would possess. Lastly, due to the nature of death and regret, many spirits happen to be evil, fueled by their negative feelings. The evil priest Kuko Chihiko once attacked the ancient land of Yamatai, and now exists as a spirit with an ominous skeletal appearance. Jack the Ripper is a being composed of smaller evil spirits, the lingering pleas of unborn children aborted by prostitutes in London's Whitechapel district. It may seem odd to consider children evil, but they happen to manifest as a serial killer who murders women in an attempt to return to the womb. Minamoto no Raiko's divine half, Ushi Gozen, is characterized as an evil, cursed spirit. While these evil spirits are typically a threat, some mages have been able to use them as a valuable tool. Kenneth L. Malloy Archibald, for instance, was able to incorporate evil spirits to serve as guard dogs in his atelier. The young mage Eris Utsumi is inhabited by evil spirits known as dread spirits. She uses these dark forces to fight and defeat her enemies, but when they aren't satisfied by her performance, they resort to opening up wounds across her body, tormenting her painfully. Perhaps the only saving grace to these evil spirits is that they happen to be vulnerable to exorcisms, giving mages from the Holy Church a distinct advantage. In summation, spirits are a type of being in our world that exist as a result of human belief and are often utilized by the planet as a way of feeling and interacting with its inhabitants. They possess spiritual bodies, which are immaterial and defy the laws of physics, but more powerful spirits are able to incarnate in physical forms. Such powerful spirits include heroic spirits, divine spirits, nature spirits, and elementals. The more ghostly spirits you may have heard of are actually lesser spirits, such as wraiths and apparitions. Mages have found ways of using spirits to their own advantage, but sometimes we are better off letting the church eliminate them outright. For our next lesson, I wish to shift focus. Mentioning Eris Utsumi, she came from a unique birth that has me wanting to discuss mage fertility. Thus, I aim to cover how mages approach courtship, reproduction, and familial relations. Thanks for watching!
If you enjoy this channel, help us grow by liking, commenting, sharing the video, subscribing to Otaku Daikun, and
most of all, smashing that notification bell so you don't miss out on all of our anime discussion, lore, or Let's Play content.
You can support us directly through Patreon, Subscribestar, or our YouTube membership, all of which come with benefits like exclusive vids and early access.
As always,
celebrate your fandom!
I want to give a special shout out to all my $10 and up supporters. VideoGamer75, Elise Trash for Skinco, Stephen Elak, Samuel Gersten, The Nonchalant Ostrich, Otaku Mom, Jens Bauman, Mystic Samurai 1983, Lord Omagoden, Free Brick, RNG or Shuffles 1498, Alexis Yukio Gomez Yamato, Link Pendrago, King Kobo, Observer Bellis, Flash Daniel, Eldon Yarbrough, Horsemen of Justices, James Hewitt, Uncanny EXP, Matthew McAfee, Game King 352, Caitlin P, Vladimirovna, Succubus Sakura, Jonathan Padua, The Taz 96, President Irina Vladimirovna Putina, Maxwell's Demon, Kengo X77, SF Giants fan Mike, Akakaze Yume, and user C100 CAD1. Thank you all so much.